Well, the Buckeyes are getting set for the Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans, and that's where we will go right now. Let's head down and talk to Bo Bishop from WBNS and ONN. Bo, what is the scene like in New Orleans now as this team gets ready for the bowl game on the heels of Tattoo-Gate?
Well, it has been a scene, as you said. It's been an unbelievable week down here. Very newsy week. Jim Tressel laying down the gauntlet with a brilliant statement earlier saying all 5 guys who were involved would pledge to come back for their senior season. Then Terrell Pryor kind of debunking that a little bit when he talked to the media on Saturday, saying that each guy's situation is different. It has been a very newsy week. It's been a very lively week. The Buckeyes with a lot of off-field distractions. To me, the key for them will be, can they somehow put that aside and focus on a very good Arkansas team in a really fun matchup? But off the field, this has been a wild one this week down here.
What is your gut feeling? Are these guys coming back next year, or is this just a good thing for Jim Tressel to say as far as recruiting that he's got his players back as far as everything's going here?
Well, it's a brilliant masterstroke by Jim Tressel because it takes it off of him and it puts the onus on the players to hold up to their end of the bargain. Now, each one of these situations are different. For example, I cannot imagine Dan Herron coming back for a senior season. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. They go about 5 deep at tailback. I'm not sure what he would gain by missing 5 games or 4 if the appeals go through and coming back for that senior season. To me, each situation is different, but now it is on the player. It is not on Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel took the heat off of himself by playing these guys and saying it was on them and that they agreed to come back for those senior seasons. So a master stroke from the senator this week.
All right, let's put this in another ball game. All right, let's talk about Terrell Pryor. What sense would it make for Terrell Pryor to come back? Oh. What if Ohio State's 5-0? Do you think he'll ever play quarterback in Columbus again? You know, what if they do go 5-0 next year?
Well, you bring up the thing that I've been talking about this week, and that is the exact scenario. If they are 5-0, if 5-star recruit Braxton Miller all of a sudden develops into a capable quarterback, or maybe Kenny Guyton Jr. or Joe Bauserman leads them team to a 5-0 record, can you put Terrell Pryor back in the game, rusty, starting at Nebraska, if that suspension holds up for 5 games? I'm not sure what Terrell Pryor gains by coming back. And it was interesting, you know, he spoke with us on Saturday, and Terrell came across almost indignant to have to even deal with this. And, you know, he bristled at comments of comparing himself to Cam Newton, saying he doesn't play in that type of offense, so the comparisons are unfair. Obviously, he said what he said about perhaps these guys reneging on the promises. He also had some issues saying, you know, the quote that I really didn't learn anything. I knew what I was doing was wrong 2 years ago, which kind of goes against what Ohio State was saying, that they didn't properly educate these guys. So every time he speaks, as you know, there is a certain something that comes from it, and Saturday was no different. I'm not sure. The scenario you brought up is a scenario I believe. I don't know that if he sits out 5 games, he'll ever start again. That's a tough thing, and this is a guy who's 30-4 as a starter and is a 3-year starter.
I'm sure the Alumni Association was feeling pretty good when he also brought up the fact that Kirk Herbstreit didn't beat Michigan yesterday. It seems like Terrell Pryor would be better off if he just didn't say anything at this point, but we know he's got to be available to the media.
Yeah, and it's actually great for us because he gives us a lot of things to talk about. So as an Ohio State fan, of course, they want him to maybe not talk. We love for him to talk because he always gives us something, you know, writers something to write about and us something to talk about. The thing with Herbstreit was interesting because he was actually cleared. He made the comment, he said, I don't listen to what Kirk Herbstreit says, and then it was as if the Sugar Bowl person said, okay, Terrell, you're clear. And it was as he was pushing up, he said, how many times has he beat Michigan? So it's almost like he's almost out of it, you know, and then he still gets that last line, and of course that's what everybody runs with. And Kirk, of course, was very classy in his response, saying that he's a Buckeye fan and he wishes Terrell nothing but the best. But that's an interesting feud that's been happening between perhaps the most famous Buckeye football player who did not win 2 Heismans and the current quarterback.
I know this might seem odd, but there is actually a football game going to be played on Tuesday night. Bo, the
really?
SEC...
Are you sure?
I think so. The Big Ten looked absolutely horrible yesterday. Embarrassing, to say the least. I mean, just the rips on the Big Ten over the last 24 hours have been unbelievable. Can Ohio State save face for the conference and kind of get through all this and stop Ryan Mallett on Tuesday night?
They better. I just spoke with Ohio State President Gordon Gee a couple of hours ago, and he told me that he was getting ready to eat a large bowl of crow because he, of course, is the one who said the Sisters of the Poor comment when talking about TCU and Boise State a couple months ago. It's on Ohio State now. As you mentioned, 0-5 and just run in a lot of the games that they played. Ohio State, in my opinion, has always been the class of the league this year. I know the loss to Wisconsin, but that was really one bad quarter. This is a Buckeye team that started the year #2 in the country. It's time for them to look the part. I do think they will look the part. I think they will beat Arkansas on Tuesday. Jim Tressel has a way of kind of bringing a group together. They played very well last year against Oregon. I think they'll play very well Tuesday night, and I think they'll get the win and maybe put some type of a nice bow on what has been maybe not the best Christmas present for Buckeye fans.
All right, Bo, last question for you. Prediction, what do you see?
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes will be somewhere in the low 30s, and I could see Arkansas somewhere in the low 20s. I think it'll be a very similar game to what we saw last year in Oregon. Ohio State will play smart. They'll be efficient. They'll do just enough with Ryan Mallett and Niall Davis, the Arkansas running back who ran for 1,000. I think Ohio State gets a win by somewhere in the 10s.
All right, hopefully you won't have to share a bowl of crow with Gordon Gee. Bo, we appreciate your time.
So many good restaurants down here. There's no reason to eat crow. See you, buddy.
All right, Bo Bishop from ONN and WBNS, thank you for your time. And we get set as the Buckeyes take on Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl Tuesday.